Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to welcome our guests today from Rainfactory. So everyone who's here, just want to make sure that you're in the right webinar. Today, we are going to talk about how to put together and build a crowdfunding campaign page that converts. We have our host today, Kaitlyn from Rainfactory, the co-CEO. And I just have to share, we also have Enzo and Andrew from the BD team. Andrew and Enzo are going to be answering any and all questions that you might have in the QA. So please feel welcome to ask questions live during the session. And if you think of questions that you would like to ask later or have asked live, you're welcome to do so towards the end. And then we have the wonderful and amazing Megan, our Indiegogo campaign strategist. And I am so grateful again to have everyone here today who are joining us live. Short anecdote and background. Kaitlyn and I actually worked together in 2018 to launch one of the first crowdfunding campaigns that I got to work on, the Lumen. And so it's such a pleasure to be here today. Yes, exactly. And we launched it on Indiegogo. That was a very fun campaign. And I'm excited to actually go through and talk about the campaign page strategies and tactics that you used back then and that are still so applicable. And yeah, so now the floor is yours. I'm handing it over to you and I'll let you take it over.
Brilliant. Hey, everybody. So just giving you a face to the name because I am going to start my presentation in just a second. I'm Kaitlyn. I'm the co-CEO at Rainfactory. Just take a look at the background that I have here. I can always pull anything off of my shelves. These are all products that I've worked on and launched over the years. I'm really excited because this is kind of the first time I've really broken it down for you guys publicly. I've been doing this since 2014, as I'll show in my presentation. So, and open invitation, please chat away for everybody who has questions and answers. This is going to be pretty casual too, so really happy. So welcome to Indiegogo Decoded. We're going to build a high converting campaign page. A little bit, oh, sorry, hold on, let me go back. Here's me. I am the co-founder and co-CEO. We are Rainfactory. We're a team of creatives obsessed with transforming one-of-a-kind products into the world's most coveted products. And everything that we do is very data-driven. We want to bridge that gap between customers and products. So here's a little bit of me, my family, and my team. So you can kind of just get to know me a little bit more. We've been working on Indiegogo's largest campaigns since 2014. So here's an example of some of the campaigns that I have direct experience in and background on. A lot of them are going to be today's case studies. And yes, Sid, Lumen is right here, right on the higher end of our top campaigns that we're highlighting. Logo splash, if anything jumps out to you, we've worked on big name brands, anything from Philips and Atari to, no name brands that become big brands like Lumen and Link and some of these other awesome, cool brands. And again, a lot of what I do is very tech focused. Here's Mr. Lumen in the middle, but a lot of new inventions and products. So I do outdoors, parents brands, kitchen products, security, audio, IoT, robots, drones. I mean, really, I've got a whole, this is the 8 Sleep back in the day. Like I launched them in 2015. So if any of you are obsessed with biohacking, I've got random knowledge to share. And One Wheel is one of our biggest clients as well. So we are in fact still working for them today. They're celebrating 10 years. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to give you a big introduction to Indiegogo, give you some basics, title, tagline, content, image and video, the story section, extras and perks. I strategically organized this to match that left-hand sidebar as you are going through the backend campaign builder. So a lot of these things are directly in that campaign builder and backend, and I'll include some screenshots from there so you guys can pause the video, go and follow along, and then replay the video. So very versatile. let's start with an introduction to Indiegogo. So this is the world's platform for validating ideas and launching products. And I think, Megan, why don't you give us a quick background about why Indiegogo is different?
Yeah, that sounds like the perfect place to kick things off. So, when considering crowdfunding platforms, it's essential to understand the unique strengths of each. So, when it comes to looking at where you want to launch a product, making sure that you have a good understanding of all the options available. So, what makes Indiegogo different? Um, the three main call outs here are flexible funding options, cutting edge tools, and campaign support. So, to start with flexible funding options. A lot of traditional crowdfunding and other crowdfunding platforms will have a fixed funding model. So you have to hit your goal in order to get the funds dispersed to you. With Indiegogo, you have two funding options. So you can do the traditional fixed funding option, or you can also do flexible funding. So with flexible funding, even if you don't hit your goal, you still get the funds once the campaign is over, which is a great option if you don't necessarily need all the funds, but still want that boost to help launch your product, film, whatever you are raising funds for on the platform. And then also, what makes Indiegogo unique is exclusive cutting edge tools. So, Indiegogo as a platform has tools for you from pre launch all the way through post campaign. So, starting with pre launch, we have this new beta feature with reservation deposits, which is it can be a very powerful tool for validating product fit before you even launch the campaign. And of course, the regular pre-launch page too. And then during the live campaign, some exclusive platform tools such as a secret perk, which we'll get into later in the presentation. And then also post-campaign, one of the unique different factors there is that you can continue raising funds after the campaign is over. So on in-demand, you can keep selling your perks, or if you want to keep doing it after that live portion. And then third, campaign support. This is really unique in that you have the full Indiegogo team with you. We have the campaign strategy team, which I am on, helps you along the way. And then, which is a good segue to the next one of what we have coming up next, what we offer. What makes Indiegogo different is the campaign support of the campaign strategist and our support team being there for you the whole way. So, sorry. Oh yeah, back to the next one.
You're like giving me a clue about what's next, and I was like, okay, should I? But I will really underscore.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I honestly, like, Megan is such a gem. We've been working with her and people like her for years. And that really is what sets Indiegogo apart. They genuinely care about each and every entrepreneur or founder or, intrapreneur, whatever you consider yourself to be on this platform. It's the people and the dedication that really sets Indiegogo apart. So I would absolutely put that in your sort of back pocket, and don't be afraid to reach out. They really do want to help.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, exactly. And then before coming to Indiegogo even too, I was on the other side of it running a campaign as a marketing manager. And it's that campaign support that made the difference in running the campaign as well, which is the perfect segue to this of what backers see and expect. So as you are preparing to run a campaign, also do it yourself to see what a backer is going to do. So on your own, if you haven't already, create an Indiegogo account, and then also not only do the campaign setup, but back a campaign too, just to see the full flow. We have a screen capture right here for you of what the checkout email would look like, but just having that full experience, start to end, of what the backer would see too, just so that you can also plan on your end every part of the way as well. And then when you're doing that, going through all of it and writing it down, notice what the page is, any specifics, things that you would have questions yourself, or likely what the backer would see too.
And I think, and do you mind if I jump in for 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
I think also another incredible feature that sets Indiegogo apart is that it's a platform that stays with you, or that you can stay with beyond even in demand, because we also have the drops feature, which allows you to continue to leverage the platform even after you've shipped and delivered.
Absolutely. And I think that just comes from the fact that the team, going back to team, everybody listens, everybody wants to help, and everybody really just wants to support these exciting new products and inventions because it's scary and you need a team in your court. So, so the mechanics of the thing, really try to think about it from what the backers want to see and expect. So a lot of my job happens to listen to inventors blather on about how many ARM 3-axis motors and how many speakers and what quality and what's the IPX rating and how many design iterations. That's amazing. However, do backers really need to know about that? Probably not. So a lot of my job is just translating them to be from the backer's perspective. And so I want you to put your backer's hat on and look at campaigns that are similar to yours. And I know we've got a lot of film project folks today, so I'm also speaking to you guys. Look at these other similar projects, see some ones that are aspirational, make sure that they're current. Don't be comparing yourself to campaigns several decades ago, but see what's trending right now and look at how they respond to their community and their backers. And this is really how I first broke into it. I mean, look at the date on this. I'm dating myself, but this is from 2014. This was a little robot named Jibo. And this was my first introduction into the platform, knowing nothing about crowdfunding. And if you see the funds raised, we ended up doing $3.6 million including in demand, and then $2.2 million for the original campaign. So it was incredible. And all of this was solid research, planning, strategy, building together the right pitch, working hand in glove with the Indiegogo team. And so it really is something that's achievable with the right, people, strategy, and an amazing product in your court as well. I don't think I want to go into too many details. I want to keep pushing through my slides. You can always ask me about these products. So let's talk about title, tagline. Very first thing that people are going to see, right? You want to see what it is and what it does. You only get 50 characters to tell people what's the title of your campaign and 100 characters to put a little tagline just below it. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to be clever or, smart or put a cool, like they actually think that it's a tagline. But what they really forget is to say what it is and what it does, So really just go back to basics, right at a 10th grade level. Yes, you can get clever. Don't get too punny. Copywriters like puns. People really don't care. And think about keywords to help backers find your campaign on Indiegogo. So remember how I asked you to create your own account and back a campaign? What did you search for? How did you search for it? What did the similar ones look like and how did they organize their campaign? Like, what did you literally type into the search bar? I want that to be your title and your tagline.
Yeah. And then to add to that,
Yeah.
for the Indiegogo audience too, and an audience that's outside of your own that you build too, you want to make it easily accessible for others to find, to Kaitlyn's point. And then when it's hitting the audience, they should be able to find it right away and understand from that very brief tagline immediately.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one other question, actually, really quick to chime in too.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about writing it and talking on a 10th grade level and audiences, you also maybe need to take into consideration that some of the audiences are speaking English as a second language.
Very true. In our analysis, I'm sure that there's some updated numbers. About 50% campaigns come from the United States, 20% Canada, and then 30% makes up international, like maybe more than that, actually, maybe 10% Canada and then 40% international. It's a really wide audience and your brand can really go global.
Absolutely.
As the slide is saying, I'm sure you guys already read it. Test everything. I mean, think of anything that you can do. Ask your mom, ask your friends, send out a survey. What Rainfactory does is we take a very data-driven approach, and we use some of the headlines and taglines, and we run them as advertisements in Facebook. And we measure the click-through rate and the resulting sign-up rate for the people who are engaging with our ad units. Indiegogo has an amazing feature called the pre-launch page. And Megan has a great screenshot from one of the results of a live pre-launch page that'll actually give you statistical significance of the rate at which a visitor will sign up their email address on your pre-launch page.
Yeah. And then if not too, it also tells you if there's not a statistical significance either. So maybe go back to the drawing board and see what components need to be changed there as well. So you have a really powerful tool at your hands to test out copy and imagery of what's going to land once you hit the go launch and you're live and you have it all figured out by that point.
Yeah, totally. Really, just get creative. Any way that you can test it, do. So here's another case study. This is a brand named Hydro, and they weren't sure if they should, in a world of Peloton, did they want to enter the market as the world's first connected rowing machine? Or did they want to go to market as the live outdoor reality rower? It's not the world's first. It's not connecting Hydro to Peloton, but what it did, every single word in this whole title was rigorously tested, smartly so, by the team behind Hydro. And they came up with their standout features, the fact that they had live classes, the fact that the classes themselves were outdoors. And at the time, it was like virtual reality, augmented reality. So they just created their own category of outdoor reality. So that was amazing. They really thought through everything in their title. Then I did some keyword packing in the subheadline, row in real time with world-class athletes streaming live from the water. It didn't say orders open now at hydro.com. It did say something like rowing machine as well. So because rowing machine wasn't in the title, it was in the tagline. And yes, that is still searchable on the Indiegogo backend. Cool. Let's talk about image and video in the content section. So here's some do's and don'ts of cover images. Do have a clear product with eye-catching visuals, yes logos, yes color callouts, and give people enough context to explain your product if it's something new, if it doesn't really look like how it's supposed to work. And one thing that a lot of people miss is mobile compatibility. 70 to 90% of your traffic is going to be mobile. So you're going to want to check everything that you do on a mobile screen. Also, I put here that the relative size of the product is very helpful. So in the case with Philips Screenio, the remote next to it allows people to know, wow, this actually is quite a small form factor for a projector. Don't have anything that's too busy. You need to actually see what the image is. When you're marketing products themselves, so when the product is not people, right? I know some people, the person behind the product is more important. Faces don't really sell the product because people are going to go to the eyes of the person and judge whether or not they like that person. It's just kind of a natural phenomenon. And that's become really difficult. I've even sold, earphone and sunglasses campaigns. And so you have to get the model to like do 3/4 tilt, look off the camera and focus on the product. And then even when you're like dress shopping, they just kind of chop off the heads of the models wearing the dresses. It's a very common phenomenon for people in marketing photos.
Yeah, and one of the most crucial aspects too, because it will be the first image most viewers will see when they land on the page. And to Kaitlyn's point too, testing for mobile on that mobile screen, it is the first image. So being able to hook their attention right away in that first 30 seconds with that image.
Absolutely. And can I ask a question about it to make I'll ask it to both of you. Is this image something that you would recommend changing periodically throughout the campaign as you hit different milestones? Because it's something that can be edited even after you've uploaded it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
is a
depends
great
on.
point.
Go ahead, Megan. Yeah.
Oh, yes, also with relative depending too, but that is a great point. A lot of the content can be updated throughout the campaign, so keeping it fresh. I think a good qualifier is making sure it doesn't end up getting too busy. Of course, you want to do all those call outs of it being fully funded, but just being mindful of what you already have and really maximizing that space just so it's the most effective in the call to actions.
Yeah, and I really love that call out because you can see in both of these images, we have the like fully funded. Those are things that we generate, that we put into those images. They are not automatically added by Indiegogo. But it's celebrating these important milestones give your potential backers the confidence that, wow, this train is leaving the station and I'm either going to get it on or it's going to leave without me. So you really want to generate that cool feeling in these people. And when you generate these things, make sure that you're celebrating milestones that if somebody is outside of your inner circle, they're going to get it. So don't have celebrations for something that, you know, your backers or a returning person might be excited about. Always think about new backers. Who's coming to the page for the first time? And how do you trigger that I need this mentality? So let's jump in here. Here's another case study. I love this image for Logitech because the image itself shows the product being used in there's a person in this image, but you don't see her face. You can see the relative size of the product. And in fact, we found that even adding arrows to the product itself helps to increase comprehension. So people can understand quickly on just a more basic level how it is, what it does, and why you need it in just one image. And like everything that we did, this image was completely tested with thousands of other, well, hundreds of other images. And this was kind of the one that really stood out. I also like this because we were able to play with the branding a little bit. So there's that nice pop of orange, that beautiful purple, and it has to play nicely with the colors of the platform. So think about it in context as well. So this was a really well composed main product image, and it works really well on mobile. All right, let's go into your story section. The content section, starting with story. Some don'ts of the story section first. So here, you know, you have this story section here. You get 695 pixels of width, but really make sure that it is mobile optimized as well. Don't assume that someone's going to read the entire page. In fact, they're going to have this 7-second attention span, and you're going to either get their attention or not. Don't only design for desktop computers, which is such a huge pitfall because here we are. You're probably sitting on a desktop computer right now. And if you're on your phone, you're probably going to be better positioned to look and evaluate at your own campaign because most of the people that are coming to your page are coming on their mobile phones. Don't neglect other supplementary sections like updates and discussion. Don't exaggerate or misrepresent. Really just understand that you're explaining to them what it is, what it does, why you need it, and get them to be pulled in by telling your story. And this is also something that you can update over the course of the campaign. So when you open your doors for the first time, you may get some feedback from people who have questions. Answer their questions with the content of your page. Keep it fresh, keep it updated, and lean into what your backers are telling you.
Yeah,
Any
and I
more
know that we
don'ts?
have all text in the example and when you're in the campaign editor, but I can't stress enough the importance of not assuming everyone will read the entire campaign and every detail of text that you have. If you go back to thinking like a backer and also at how you interact with websites yourself, you're not reading every sentence of a website, you're skimming around too. So optimizing for that and having images and graphics to help also explain that storytelling too, as another effective way. And then overall, viewers tend to spend about 2 to 3 minutes on the campaign as a whole. So being really mindful of that, of it's going to be a really short hook to get viewers on the page and give them enough information where they're wanting to contribute to the campaign.
That's so true. This is just placeholder to show you some of the editor's formatting capabilities. Please don't launch your campaign and say short summary, what we need and what you get. I really think that you can get more creative than that.
Yeah.
Here are some do's. We want you to start with a really strong hook. Tell your story authentically, commit to transparency. So everything that you know about your product and everything that you want it to be, make sure that you present it in an authentic, transparent way. This is, I'm entering my 10th year of launching crowdfunding campaigns. Backers are more sophisticated, their standards are higher. And that's also why I really recommend to not compare yourself to campaigns that were launched 6 or 7 years ago, because the standards are higher today. They need to know that it works. They need to know how it works. They have expectations on how it's presented and constructed. And you have more support now, so you have less of an excuse. Oh, I didn't plan ahead, or oh, I didn't know this was required. And I think that the more you lean in, the more you ask your community for support, the better your campaign is going to be, and the more you contribute as well to other similar campaigners. Another thing that I want to call out too is that people really lean into maybe what they learned in business school and say, oh, present your problem and now here's the solution. But when you have a potential backer coming to your campaign page with a 7-second attention span and all they see are problems, they get completely turned off, right? They want to see the solution first and then judge whether or not they identify with that solution.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then, some of the mechanics there. I mean, this is one of my favorite campaigns, the Ecto chair that we worked on. We have some nice GIFs. We have some nice infographics. There was a review by an influencer that we inserted onto the page. And all of that information is right up front, minimal amounts of text, lots of visuals, lots of just compelling information about the product.
Yeah, the Ecto one was a very memorable one too, because I remember they have 2 very distinct chairs, and Rainfactory team did a very good job of making it very easy to identify the 2 types of models of chairs, and then effective use of GIFs too, just quickly conveying all the different types of use cases, and so the viewer themselves can visualize how they would use the chair too. Very quick at the top.
So I'm going to give everybody a 2-step test. And this is another one of our live product, or our former products, the Olive Pro. Step 1, can I know what it is by skimming the headlines? I'm coming from Facebook, I'm coming from an email, I'm trained to scroll on my phone, and I'm just going to skim the headlines. Do it on your phone. Step number 2, can I know what it is by skimming the photos? Glance, glance, glance. Ah, yes, I see it's got some stuff. Pretty much this is like the size that you can even review it at right here. And you can tell what it is, what it does, that people have tried it, and whether or not you need one. Very simple 2-step test. We do it with all of our products.
I love this. And Kaitlyn, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would you recommend that the creator share it with somebody who doesn't know what the product is? Maybe a friend of a friend, or a colleague, or somebody else who might not be familiar with it, to get their feedback?
Oh my gosh. Have you ever heard of that phenomenon, from Ted Lasso, where he looks at each other and you go, word become a sound, or, word become a sound? I get such like word salad fever when I'm really in the campaign optimization. So really, if you're just thinking, oh my gosh, it's just become a salad to me, and I have no idea what's the most important, where things go, how to organize it. Give it to somebody else. I usually give it to my mom. I mean, I know everybody has that one friend, or post it on Facebook, right? Give as many caveats as you want and just like ask them, okay, what's important to you? What do you notice? What's missing? And if you're too embarrassed to share it within your own network, find somebody on Fiverr. There are QA testers that'll do it for like $10. And they'll make like a nice little video for you. So there's really no excuse for you guys to review and check your own work. That's a great point.
It's a fantastic advice. I love that. And the Fiverr, that's a fantastic idea.
I know. Yeah, not my idea. Somebody on my team started doing it. So
There's
have to
also,
do it.
I think there's also user testing, like .com. Like I think there's actually
Mhm.
like a user testing site.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you can also pay professional survey takers, which may become backers, right? So it could be an investment. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of get creative with this. So here's a lovely lumen. I wanted to highlight this because this brand was amazing at confidence building, not just from a medical perspective, because it really is, you have to prove to this audience that it does what it says it does, but also just the overwhelming amount of support that this team gave to prove that, yes, it's in production. Yes, we're a real company. Yes, we're shipping, and here's all the specific details. So actually, Sid, do you want to like jump in with any hot takes?
I can jump in with some hot takes. I also think I should mention that this is not my company. I was the
Yeah,
the crowdfunding
just the
project.
marketing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was in
so
the
not
project.
responsible, no longer, but
No.
still.
But yeah, I just want to make it clear. I was the, crowdfunding marketer on it, and now doing the B2B marketing actually at Indiegogo, which is super exciting. So I think what was so important with this campaign, and what a lot of campaigns and projects come up against, is being so new and innovative that you have an element of education. So with a product that is so truly new to the market and groundbreaking, there is, as you wrote, you need to build confidence within the backer community, and you need to showcase that this has gone through all of those steps. And yes, it's a credible company. I think few of the things that Lumen also did was being able to explain a complex product simply. They also had phenomenal research that they shared publicly. And they also did over a year of beta user testing with over 400 beta users. And so they had so much feedback, and they were also able to we were, during that campaign, able to share the feedback from those users, and to show that this isn't something that was just created, but actually went through testing and research and publication. So that was really important as well.
That is so important.
And it actually comes back to something that you mentioned earlier about showcasing how there was an influencer that unboxed the product. I think one of the biggest, when we talk about confidence and showcasing that, yes, it is real and it's being used, is finding outside public figures or industry experts, or regular individuals, to add that layer of credibility and trust. And so I'd love to hear your thought about including that kind of information on the page, and how you should include it, like influencers or beta users, or along those lines.
Yeah, I think that really is part of these higher standards that backers have today, mostly because it's now more accessible than ever to get a product into somebody else's hands. Now, I know that can be hard. You do have to incur some costs to get your first, 500 prototypes out in the hands of people. But the reviews and the feedback that you get from the beta testers and the influencers that you could get it into the hands of, totally game changers for these campaigns. I mean, it's night and day.
Mhm.
I even have some feedback from some of my early campaigners where they had this light indicator to indicate kind of like the sort of like intensity or strength of the product. It was kind of like a sonic toothbrush, and people thought it
Right.
was a battery indicator. So they
Yeah.
actually ended up updating the product before going to market.
Yeah.
That being
That.
said, I mean, I don't think I have any strong um, processes for even getting it in the hands of those first 500 testers, you know?
I don't think it needs to necessarily be 500, even if you produce the first 10 or 15 and you go through a few iterations of if it's possible to have that product used by multiple people. You don't necessarily need to produce 500 individual. It depends on what it is, or, along those lines. But I think it's important, exactly as you emphasize, that, and what's the first thing we do when we go to buy anything? We look at the reviews. And so with something being so new and innovative, most backers would like a layer of trust and credibility, and to see that somebody outside of the campaign has used it, and to get that understanding.
Yeah, and to
Right.
that point too, it doesn't necessarily have to be an influencer and put ad budget behind that. It could even just be those one or two product testers and they give a quick testimonial too that adds a lot of confidence and credibility to it, as well as a real person has used it and tried it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when in doubt, film your own videos until somebody else can pick it up, right? I think
Yes.
you can't really go wrong with making your own sort of like demonstration videos. Um, I will also say that a phenomenon that is unique to pre-order campaigns is actually showing the product in its box, showing the product in its packaging sells very well, because that shows how serious you are and how far along in this process. People can just visualize it. Um, Always top FAQ are going to be warranty questions, refund policies. So you're going to really have to think internally how generous you want to be or how protective you want to be to your cash flow, and a commitment to customer support. The best brands begin with customer obsession, period, full stop. Best brands begin with customer obsession. So the minute that you can get every single person on your team as obsessed about the customers as you are, not just about the product, not about how cool the technology is, but what are people going to feel like as they use it? That's how you really unlock and align your company and pull it in the right direction. The last thing I want to leave you with is I love this great team section, but I always want to be selling. I always want to say, so what? What does this mean for me as a backer? You always want to say, here's the person with their role and responsibility, not just a person with a title. So, for example, this person is responsible for manufacturing. This person is responsible for shipping and delivery. So you're actually using the people behind your project as leverage to really convince your potential backers that this is something worthwhile and that you're really serious about it. I know it sounds kind of silly, like everybody wants, name and title. But really, as long as you can convince people like this is the person that's responsible for XYZ and why that matters to you, dear backer, that's exactly what they need to hear. And it goes without saying too that Indiegogo, just being on the platform from the beginning, gives backers a certain level of confidence because of its, secure payment policies and information processing and their vetting policies. So people know that a product that's on this platform has undergone, reviews and will be continuously monitored. Because, unfortunately, there are other campaigns out there that may have damaged the potential ideas, or even people who just didn't communicate as much as they should have. And so you don't want that to be you. And so being on a platform like Indiegogo, they help coach you on how to communicate. They give you the resources to deliver. You're just more likely to be successful. And so I wouldn't discount that as part of your, this is what it means to build confidence in a potential backer.
Yeah, and even with the built-in confidence builders of the platform itself, having that storytelling goes a long way in building trust and transparency with the organic traffic or cold traffic that isn't familiar with your brand. And then they see all of that background info of, okay, yeah, this is a great team that's going to bring this product to market.
Absolutely. All right, so we're about 40 minutes in. That was really the meat of it, you guys, right? Just like your campaign, I organize everything top to bottom, most important at the top. And so now we're getting into the real fun extras. This is literally this section that's named extras. You want to have video, image, and gallery. So this will play, oops, sorry, I clicked twice. Video, image, and gallery. So step 7, extras, scroll down. You can upload extra YouTube videos or Vimeo URLs and images, and they appear right at the top as a gallery. This is so important and often a pretty missed step, but people will click through this similar to how they click through like an Amazon page, right? So you want to make sure you kind of fill out and maximize your space on this platform with that video and image gallery.
Yeah. And then to Kaitlyn's point too, even though it's extras, I would recommend doing it. It makes the page more engaging, gives the viewer something to scroll through, and also is something you can update throughout the campaign too. So similar to the content on the story section, you can also continue adding to the gallery as well as you get more product images or whatever type of influencer video you want to add to the top too as you go along the way.
And then this one is in the extra section, how you can amplify your marketing. You want to upload marketing images for Indiegogo's team, wonderful people like Megan and Sid who are available to help amplify your campaign to more potential backers. Like that's why you're there, right? Why not help them help you? Help them help you. Just upload an image. So easy. And then the next one, not to forget, is the Facebook share image. That's what's screenshotted on the right. So you can actually see what it looks like to a potential backer. You upload a 1200 by 630 image, and this will appear as somebody's, texting it to their mom, sending it in Slack, posting it on Facebook, wherever somebody shares it, that's the share image that pops up along with your campaign title. So imagine that you didn't include the product name in your campaign title. That also wouldn't appear here as somebody's sharing it with their friends. So
And
Megan, do you want to jump in, or Sid? Yeah.
yeah, I actually wanted to jump in, from your 10 years of experience in this space, crowdfunding is early adapters. It's people that are super excited and amped up about your product, and they probably want to share with their community that they participated in this. And so it absolutely makes sense that this image should be as important, I think, in my eyes, as the cover image that you put on, that first image that we spoke about, because this one is going to be shared broadly. And we hope that, do you know how often backers are sharing the campaigns on their social networks after they back?
I'm curious to know if there's any data being pulled from it, but sometimes it's called dark social for a reason. You can actually Google it. That's a term, dark social. And that is the unmeasurable effects of people texting it in, their social applications, because it's harder to track that than it is to track literal clicks of the Facebook share button. They can actually highlight the URL, copy, paste. We can't track that.
Right. But we all agree that it's super important to make sure that this image and text is,
Yeah.
easily understood when a backer is sharing it to their community.
Yeah. In terms of tracking back to the campaign page, it is measurable. I can see organic traffic coming in from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere that people have copied that link and kind of made it their profile link or share link. All right, so last section, I promise. Then we'll get into some great Q&A. Perks. You want to be able to visualize your compelling offer. Everything is going to be organized from lowest to highest price. You can use the feature tool to pin a perk to the top. And I've screenshot what that looks like here on a desktop computer. It actually is different on mobile, so be aware of that. And just some general tips and tricks, studio products with studio product shots with helpful information, that clean background, and just show me what it is, don't get too tricky with it. Don't show it in situation or somebody using it. And then here you can see some of the fun call outs that we add, optional things like, I'll use my mouse over here, colors that it comes in, and the discount, maybe some multi-pack offerings. So this is a campaign that had, you could stack up products and buy multi-packs. This one had a really fantastic lifetime warranty on the frame of the bike, and that was something that was very valuable for potential backers. So perk design, we could probably go into like an entire other webinar on, strategy for perks.
I
But I'll
think
just
we
keep this
should.
over to design. Yeah.
I think we're going to do a follow-up webinar just on the psychology and importance of perks.
Yeah, because I think, I know it's the final slide because this is a design presentation, but the bulk of the conversations between you and your internal team should be on perk strategy. What are you going to create? What are you going to offer? And how are you going to communicate that? And
Yeah,
Megan, I want
and
this
really,
to be your opportunity to talk about
oh,
secret
yes.
perks as well. Yeah, go for
Yes,
it.
that's the excellent point to that. Using that image as the perfect way to explain, because you don't see the description until you click into it. But then also to the point of secret perks, you are able to create a link. So only people with that link are able to see the secret perk. And it's a great way to send that to a certain segment of your audience, or even give it to influencers to only give to their audience as well. So that secret perk will be situated above the featured perk if you do have one of those listed, and is a very effective tool to create that extra sense of exclusivity and urgency to get that perk before it sells out. It is also a good way to do it with your earliest audience too, so that they feel that they are getting the best deal, as well as one of the main reasons people like to contribute to a crowdfunding campaign too, since they are early adopters, getting that discount for helping you bring that product to market.
Brilliant. Moving right along. So here's a summary, right? We've gone through what's different about Indiegogo, talked about title, tagline, what it is, what it does, make it searchable, content, focus really, 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 really heavily at the top on that main image and video right at the top. Story, tell your story authentically, organize it important to least important. Make sure you focus on the backers first, answer all your questions. Don't forget extras, don't forget perks. And that's it. Here's how you can connect with us. And then we can kind of roll into questions.
I love this. First of all, thank you so much. Round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This was fantastic. Thank you, Megan. And thank you for all the incredible questions. Cool. So, and actually the one thing we didn't talk about, so I definitely am inspired. We're going to be doing a perks webinar. We'll talk about it. And then in 2 weeks, we have a webinar on shipping and fulfillment. So post-campaign success. So I will be emailing everyone about that as well. For anyone who would like to ask a question, I see hands being raised on the side. Can you please drop your question in the Q&A, and we're going to start calling those out. I saw a fantastic question that I'm really excited to lead with, so thank you for asking this. Can you talk about how messages have changed over the past 10 years and even 6 years since the Lumen campaign, for example? And would this campaign be as effective today as it was then? Kaitlyn, that's for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still think that the Lumen campaign would be as effective today as it was when it first launched. Apart from needing to put anything saying, world's first, data has proven that including something like world's first is going to generate more interest than, world's best or most affordable. The amount of trust and, information that's provided on that campaign page, plus the fact that it's organized in a way that, you're answering all the questions and then you kind of get into the real sciencey details, it absolutely would be just as successful today as it was back then. Now, if you go even
Yeah.
further back, I mean, the standards were a bit lower. You could get people to kind of write about you simply because the crowdfunding campaign itself was news. But now that's no longer the case. People really say, oh, and so what? What makes you different? Why do I trust you? My friend once backed this one campaign and they didn't deliver, right? There's always going to be that little bit of skepticism and undertone, and you do have to push that today. And that's why I'm still highlighting Lumen as this campaign where, yes, absolutely, you're going to like overcome that.
Yeah, I was about to even say Lumen was ahead of its time and it has a lot of the pieces in its place of doing that pre-launch effort and trust builders on the campaign page of what a lot of backers expect to see now, which Lumen was already doing ahead of its time.
Totally. So we don't have so many, we have a few questions. We have one question that just came in, but I actually have a question I wanted to ask first. How much time do you recommend allocating to create the crowdfunding campaign page?
Good question. I think it also depends on just the setup itself. I think it depends on how large of a team you have. And then helping yourself as well with all the image and video content ahead can be a long time. But like once you have all the assets, then you could just drag and drop. That part is easy, but and definitely doable by yourself. But I think it depends on how much work you put in ahead to have all those images and videos and copy set up beforehand.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to basics too. When you're creating your backer account and you're backing another campaign and you're looking at other campaigns in your category, you see each little section that they make. Each little section is just one little like confidence builder, explainer. This is what it is. I want you to take each of those little sections and make it into like a slide, right? Put it in PowerPoint and then go check in with your team internally and say, do I have tech specs? Do I have my team in place? Do I have 3 solid use cases that don't have to do with how many motors or how many speakers it has? Is this something that people need and really want? So you can today compare yourself to what's actively available and build your own roadmap for how long it's going to take for you to fill in each of those little sections, or ultimately have to decide, you know what, this is my runway, this is my time, we're going to launch when it launches, and I'm going to prioritize what's important to my customers.
I love this. Absolutely. So we have some questions coming in, which are great, and some of them can be answered. Enzo and Andrew, I see you answering those. What is your recommendation for setting up the campaign either internally or with an outsourced company or with an outsourced freelancer such as Fiverr or Upwork, or going with an agency? Kind of, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great options of, independent consultants out there, but there's a lot of kind of iffy options. Anybody who may have been a part of one successful campaign and quit the team or maybe was fired and thinks they can do it out on their own, you're going to want to like vet those people and really kind of poke into their history, their confidence, their reviews, and the categories that they work on. So I believe that it can be done. You're going to incur extra like time and energy costs, maybe not necessarily monetarily costs, but maybe your time should be better focused elsewhere and not coordinating many different independent consultants. Then you consider a company like Rainfactory, where we've done all of the hard work and we've kind of really done all of this heavy lifting and can condense all of that strategy and learnings and recommendations into like a really tight period, we can get a campaign out and launched in 8 weeks, plus a website that goes with it, right? So we think about your whole life cycle, and we want to continue all of that learnings that no work needs to be done twice. So go with what works for you and your budget, but be aware of the fact that you have opportunity costs as the inventor, founder, owner, whatever it is.
And also when you take an outside freelancer, consultant, or many of them that are maybe not connected versus an agency such as Rainfactory or hiring a graphic design team internally, they won't know your brand as well as you do or as inside out. I mean, one of the beautiful things about working with Rainfactory is that the team dedicates themselves to becoming an extension of your team and knowing your brand and being able to represent it in the way that it should be represented versus going with sometimes an outside freelancer who's trying to do it quickly. So it's something important to be conscientious of when you're building this campaign page. And also, we didn't talk about it, but while the Indiegogo editor is very straightforward, there are some nuances to it to make it both desktop and mobile friendly as well.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point
actually, I'm going to
too.
address one of the more cheeky questions, Christian. Yeah, you're like, hey, so we should use Rainfactory? Honestly, why I'm here today is not everybody can really afford to use Rainfactory. I'm going to be really honest. All of our expertise and time, it really does come with servicing the top tier campaigns. And really why I'm here today is I'm trying to teach you how to think like we do in an attempt to get you to, go it and put it in and get it in with whatever resources you have available. I mean, bootstrap it if you can. Otherwise, I would absolutely love to work with you. But the fact of the matter is that we only take on just a handful of campaigns each month. And so, for that reason, we're happy to continue to like share our advice and all of that stuff.
And also the comment I made was more about being conscientious of when you're working with an outside freelancer, agency, designer, contractor, whoever it may be, to make sure that you're investing in them to know your brand to the best of their abilities, to represent it the way that you envision it being represented.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no off switch for my team. I can't tell them to hold back. Everybody goes all out. And so for that reason, there's no breaking it apart into smaller pieces.
Yeah, I love that. Can you stay on for a few more questions?
Yeah, I have a little time block here, but in advance, thank you everybody who did show up for your curiosity, your questions, your feedback, even just like some high fives along the way. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being a really good virtual audience.
Yes, thank you.
And again, we're going to be sharing this recording with everybody who was here, and you have the whole presentation, all the information. And Indiegogo also has a fantastic resource center, which I will link to in the email as well, to learn more about how to set up your campaign page and really make sure that it's going to pop and hit all of the topics that Megan and Kaitlyn discussed. So actually, let's see what we have. Yes, thank you. And I appreciate it. And I want to say we appreciate you and all of the questions that everyone had been asking. I have maybe a cheeky question, and I hope it's okay. What are your thoughts about text on images versus text on the page, like using it as a design, and how much should you use, and thinking of it from an SEO perspective?
You are touching on a hot button issue. So the coolest part about Indiegogo is that it actually supports HTML styling. Like, I don't think people realize how groundbreaking this is. Even me, which, my coding skills come from my MySpace days,
Same.
which obviously you can't find me on MySpace now. Um, you can like go in and you can make basic edits and make it look almost just as good as you can with putting a text on an image. So find somebody who knows HTML, get them to style your text. I mean, it's not going to be that hard. And you're going to be able to speak to people who don't have English as a first language, that use their browsers to translate. You're going to have better SEO. You're also, and this has totally happened, like, oh, shoot, a spec changed, or oh, there's a typo. You don't have to go through 3 different people to kind of update an image, export the image, update the image. You just go into your campaign, make the edit, and save. So for those reasons, I am pro HTML text. The only time we put text on images is if we need it to like interact with the image in a certain way. So call outs, features, we even do little buttons in there if we want them to like share the campaign. So yeah, I am pro styling text.
I love it. And here's a fun question. When we're thinking about the story, what is perhaps the most important section that you should put first? Because within that story section, you have so many things, so many elements to cover of product features, tech specs, team, timeline, the reviews, everything else. What do you generally recommend leading with in that first section when after they've watched the video and they start to scroll?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we always put in are kind of this like tiny narrow section of like little badges. And those are just some really quick wins that you can get with some confidence builders at the very, very top of the page. You would highlight something like a very generous warranty policy, or highlight how many users have tried it and loved it. Highlight a really quick, turnaround and delivery. Do something that really kind of gives people like ooh, this is special, right? Just kind of like say, oh, this is something that I need to pay attention to. After that, you should really just talk about what it is, lead with a really stunning image of the product, especially if you didn't have a very clear image of the product in the very top of the page, plus some, features and use cases. So that's what I would initially lead with, putting at the top of the page,
Yeah,
barring
I'd
any.
recommend similar. Those
Yeah.
icons that you mentioned are very effective hooks, and then the viewer instantly knows, okay, I understand right away those benefits, call out features.
I love that. Yeah, I think the trust badges are so important when we think about backers, and they want to know that when the campaign succeeds, how it's going to work. And I think that's important to already start thinking about that. I also want to call out what you said earlier, Kaitlyn. I think it's so spot on to say that the team must be consume centric, all of the things. And we didn't talk about on the page the importance of campaign updates, and the comment section, and you replying to the comments. Do you want to just maybe, and actually, Megan, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, the importance of campaign updates and what role that plays as well from the launch to post campaign.
Yeah, it's definitely not a part to neglect. I mean, it can be maybe not the top of mind because it is on separate tabs, but updates really keep backers in the loop, and not just backers, also people that are coming to your page. So for the first time, unfamiliar with you as a company, they can scroll through the updates and see, oh, wow, look at all this progress that is happening so far, especially with crowdfunding campaigns. If you're not necessarily in the production stage yet, and you're in the concept of prototype stage, they see all the effort that you're doing, and it really helps take that storytelling on the content page to the next level and keeping it current and fresh too. And then also to your point about the discussion, having a dedicated time to respond to the comments too is very important, just so backers feel they're heard. You can have open comments too. So if they haven't contributed yet, they can still ask those questions, which is important. If they maybe need to know a few things before they contribute to the campaign, that is effective too. And being on top of that so that they are able to have those questions answered.
And I think transparency, I think that when people
Mhm.
are, it's confidence building, it's transparency, and it also, the whole point is crowd. It allows the backer
Yes.
community to feel that they are part of that journey. Yeah. Kaitlyn, do you have anything to add? And then I think we'll start wrapping up.
No, I really think that Megan encapsulated what the backers expect from their experience.
This is wonderful. So I want to say thank you again for everyone who joined us live. I want to say thank you to Andrew and Enzo for, doing a great job in the Q&A. Kaitlyn and Megan, incredible information. And I think that we're going to have 2 spin-off webinars coming up. So this is exciting and wonderful. I'm going to stop recording and I'm going to stop recording. So one moment.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Okay.